You're listening to the BBM Global Network with 25 years in broadcast audio and video production. Our passionate team creates content and marketing for the world of Internet Talk Radio. If you've got a passion, come join us at bbmglobalnetwork.com. The BBM Global Network. Your voice is now heard.
This is Naturally Recovering Autism with your host, Karen Thomas. After being told her son could not recover from his symptoms of autism, Karen began a long crusade. It took over a decade of personal research and experience, and now she has brought her son back to recovery. Join Karen and utilize what she has to share from her knowledge and personal experience. So please welcome the host of Naturally Recovering Autism, Karen Thomas.
Well, hi there and welcome back. You are listening to Naturally Recovering Autism, and I'm your host, Karen Thomas. We're coming to you live from the Global Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And as many of you know, if you've been listening with us now, this is the shows have been getting underway here. I share natural resources to help you, to help you with your journey getting your child recovered from the symptoms of autism. And the definition of recovery means to regain health. And as some of you may have heard in my past episodes, I mentioned a little bit about my story where my son was diagnosed once with autism, and I was told to drug him and try behavioral therapies, and that was going to be it. And we were going to learn to just manage his symptoms over life, and that there was nothing else that could really be done for him. But I knew that there were other things that could be done. My background as a craniosacral therapist and holistic health, and I just didn't want to drug him. I wanted to find out what the causes of the problems were and find out what I could do to naturally give his body what it needed to recover and regain its health. And so now that my son is fully recovered today, I have decided to share all of the resources that I gained with all of you who are on the road to recovery with your own child, so that you can get the optimum results for your child, whatever they may be. And today's episode is very important. We are going to be talking about heavy metal detoxification, and not just any heavy metal detoxification, but safe, natural, and intracellular forms of it, because there's a big difference between what you would get from a pharmaceutical drug, and we're going to go into some detail here, and I'm going to give you, near the end of the show, a link where you can get some more information on that too. But it's really important to know how to naturally detoxify your child. And as far as I'm concerned, heavy metal detoxification for autism is one of the top priorities. It's right up there with healing the gut. And the reason for that is because these heavy metals get into the brain, the neurological system, and they prevent your child from getting better. And so you need to know how to get them out. And when you do, parents are reporting better sleep, better mood ability, better ability to focus, a lot of various different great things. Super important. And today, again, I have a special expert guest with us. His name is Eddie Stone, and he's the founder and CEO of Touchstone Essentials. And Touchstone Essentials is the result of a lifelong journey of his personal education on science and proper nutrition and healthy lifestyle, because Eddie wanted to know more than ever why people were tired, run down, and sick. And a lot of it came down to the food and nutritional system, because today over 150 million Americans take supplements, but not the right kind of supplements. And so Eddie has made it his purpose to help other people live healthier lives as well. And his background, just to give you a little bit, is prior to Touchstone Essentials, he served as co-founder and general manager of a multi-million-dollar nutritional company. Months of visiting vitamin manufacturers, ingredient providers, and real farms opened his eyes to the reality that most nutritional products are made with the same synthetic or isolate chemicals that offer little of the benefit of real food. So he decided to create a company where the guiding principles are those of partnership, transparency, trust, and integrity. They are all sourced from the earth. Touchstone Essentials products are made possible by breakthrough innovations in cold processing techniques for whole foods. And what we're going to talk about today largely is the proprietary scientific advances in processing their clinoptilolite zeolite that sets them apart from others. So welcome, Eddie, and thank you so much for being here today. Are you there?
Karen, I'm here, and thank you so much for the generous introduction. Pleasure to have a chance to speak to you again, and certainly appreciate the time and the attention of your audience. Always look forward to these.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to give a brief note to the listeners right now, we're going to give some information here that you'll want to be able to grasp and hold on to and utilize after the show. And so to make it easy for you, especially if you're driving or can't write or you're scrambling for a pen, you don't need to. If you go to the page of naturallyrecoveringautism.com/HM for heavy metals, I will give all of the links to anything that we discuss in this show. They'll be right there at the bottom of the page under the video that's on that page as well. So you can get all that information. So Eddie, let's dive in. So first of all, why don't we give some background to the audience? Some people are a little bit unfamiliar with what heavy metals are and the dangers and how we get them in our bodies. Why can't our body just get rid of them? And, are we always exposed? So can you give a little background on that first?
Yeah, I would be happy to. And, it's one of those things that kind of falls into the category for me as one of those dirty little secrets of modern living or modern society. If we're talking about health and nutrition, it's pretty common to hear discussions about ultra-processed foods and the chemicals associated with that and the challenges that can create when we find ourselves sort of removing real food from our diet. But what we don't spend enough time on, as far as I'm concerned, is thinking about our exposure to heavy metals, environmental pollutants, volatile organics, whether we're talking about the air that we breathe or the water that we drink or the food supply. Because in truth, when you consider sort of the modern world that we have, and in large part, the world is it's based upon chemistry and chemicals. I mean, I think it was a 1950s movie talked about, the future is plastics. Well, that's really become the future is chemical based. And so there's some 80,000, some reports say as much as 90,000 chemicals that are sort of a part of the manufacturing process of energy, of furniture, of household goods, but also our foods. And what we now know after decades of research is excessive exposure or even modest exposure, particularly if someone's body is ill prepared to manage or deal with the toxins, those toxins can be disruptive at a cellular level. They can have a negative impact and a disruption with DNA replication, and that makes us vulnerable to all types of diseases, cancers, disorders of all kinds. And so it's out there, and we just, we tend to not think about it because we're talking about particulates that are so small, they're not visible. And for the most part, we can't really smell them, and they're sort of naked in terms of the taste. And so we're talking about neurodisruptors and things that just get in the way of the function of the immune system, or even just the natural function of the body. Under normal circumstances, we should be able to manage at least a modest amount of chemical disruption or exposure, but it's just a bombardment day in and day out, and the toxic load that we begin to carry. Because one of the other sides of this that a lot of people don't think too much about is that when the body is exposed to a chemical, cadmium, lead, mercury, or even volatile organics that it doesn't know how to manage, it doesn't recognize, it tends to sequester it in fat as a way to sort of isolate it and protect the internal organs and the body systems from that. And, once that occurs, now we have an accumulative load that begins to develop, and it can lead to excess weight gain, or it can deposit in the fatty tissues associated with the brain. I mean, there's just all kinds of sort of downstream issues associated with this, sort of dirty little secret that's a part of modern living, which is chemicals. I mean, they're just everywhere.
Right. And I know that the toxins really like to hang on to fat, and the brain is made of 60% fat. So it's one of the places it really likes to grab a hold of. And I know that you've just recently published an article, 7 signs you need to detox. So we're going to cut for a short commercial break here. And then when we come back, we'll get into how you might see some signs and know if your child is needing detoxification or if you are. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
The earliest human societies worshipped a female goddess. Little is known about this time because we did not always have a written recorded history. It was around 3100 BC when the Sumerians invented the first written language, and everything that preceded this time is prehistory. The prehistorical record includes all of women's unwritten history from 30,000 BC to the time that men began achieving political power around 3000 BC. Male feminist artist Kimberly Berg maintains a strong position in educating and inspiring both men and women through his devotional art to the goddess in all women. Studying their history is paramount to understanding who women were and who they would become later, living in a patriarchal society. To learn more about this important time in our history, go to www.isisrising.net.
Do you ever wonder why certain things are happening in your life? How to start a business or a new direction? Need answers? Astrologer Bonnie Perbula can help you reveal your true self and gain strength and focus so you can achieve greater joy and success. Working with a natal birth date, time, and location, Bonnie brings out qualities to aid you in getting the best from your life. She can help you unlock dormant traits to bring you greater awareness. Bonnie also conducts public speaking engagements to educate aspiring astrologers on their journey to the stars. A gifted artist, Bonnie bridges her talents and recently launched a line of Astro Bears, uniquely created in colors of individuals' astrology charts. She also makes one-of-a-kind necklaces of crystal beads and woven thread. To learn more about the world of Bonnie Perbula, go to bonniegperbula.com. And for astrology consulting, visit astrologyconsultants.com or call or email her at 808-526-1536 or bonniegp@aol.com.
Hi, and welcome back to Naturally Recovering Autism. I'm your host, Karen Thomas, and we're coming to you live from the Global BBM Network and TuneIn Radio. And today we're discussing toxicity and detoxification, but specifically with heavy metal detoxification. But right now we have our guest, Eddie Stone, with us, and he's recently published an article on the 7 signs that you need to detoxify. And I think that might be good, Eddie, if you could run through some of those signs so that parents have a good idea of knowing what to look for.
So jumping back into that discussion, some of these things are more obvious than others. And I think of it a little bit about sort of the issues associated with your car, right? If your car is not running well, you probably notice there's a hesitation when you take off or problems when you crank it or whatever it happens to be. Unfortunately, with the human body, we tend to not notice things that sort of happen to us more slowly. And so it's important to sort of be conscious and think about these things in terms of obvious signs, or signs, I should say, that we may have a problem here. And so the first one to think about is constant fatigue. And if you're observing this in a child, or you're noticing it yourself or a spouse, whatever it happens to be, one of the things we know is that heavy metals, environmental pollution, they can be neurodisruptors and actually interfere with the production of ATP at the cellular level. And there's probably no more specific and needed source of, say, energy than that cellular energy that you get from ATP production in the body. And we won't dive too much into biochemistry today, but probably most are familiar with what I'm saying when I talk about that. And so this constant fatigue that just seems unusual, and you can find yourself into a habit of drinking excess amounts of coffee, or boy, I hate to think about it, but maybe excess of these high sugar energy drinks, and you're trying to overcome something that even though you might be getting a good night's sleep, although you could be sabotaging that with excess amounts of caffeine, you might even be getting exercise, but just for some reason, you're just sluggish and you just can't sort of make things go, or you notice someone else in the family is. The other issue, or number two, I should say, is really autoimmune problems. And that's where you've got a sort of an acute situation where someone's experiencing sore joints, pain, stiffness, muscle soreness that's unusual and not identified, say, with having worked out or done something that we think of would naturally cause some soreness and stiffness from a joint or muscular standpoint, skin rashes that are sort of unidentified. You know you don't have an allergic reaction. You know you didn't step into the backyard and all of a sudden touch some poison ivy. And then going back to sort of this constant fatigue, we can also talk about what we see with really sort of acute exhaustion, where just for no particular reason, like you just can't keep your head up in the afternoon and you're not guilty of having, say, cupcakes for lunch, right? And so these things that just are, if you step back for a moment and sort of observe what's going on, all of a sudden they're unusual. Low-grade fever. We can even see this with night sweat. So it's the body having a reaction to something, but it's not clear and present to us exactly what that is. We talked about the skin rashes and skin issues. This actually mostly shows up in the form of patches in sort of unusual places. And so all of a sudden someone's got a patch on their arm in an area that, isn't something that maybe happened on the playground or you rubbed up against something, right? It's sort of an unexplained, and you might put all the moisturizer you want on it and it just doesn't go away. And really this is the body reacting to this excess exposure. And it can even come down to difficulty in concentration. And I know with your work with autism, we tend to think when we get into that dialogue, we think about concentration issues or challenges in that regard. But just as a rule, concentration, the ability to stay with a task, the ability to complete a task can often be traced back to excess exposure to toxins. And this is particularly true with pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. Actually, those things are designed to have a neurological effect on the pests that they're trying to control. One of the problems we've seen with bees in the last few years, where certain toxins can actually affect them in a way where they can't find out where they're going, find their way back to the hive. And then this will grow into issues associated with frequent headaches, can be as severe as someone dealing with serious headaches and a migraine type of situations. There have been studies that have just basically shown that if you live in or around areas where there's a lot of excessive heavy metals in the air, say from coal production or coal burning plants, that people in that area will often talk about headaches on sort of a regular basis, right? And so it's not something where every now and then maybe I missed a meal or I've got low blood sugar or something occurs and I just have a headache, right? We're talking about constant, frequent headaches. And then maybe one of the bigger ones to think about is trouble losing weight when everything else makes sense. You're paying attention to your diet, you're doing the things that you should, and you just realize, I can't lose weight. Then it's important to start to think about, okay, what is my exposure to heavy metals, environmental pollutions, and what role could they be playing in that challenge? And then maybe the last thing to mention is sleep problems. And of course, anybody that's not sleeping well, you're looking for answers. Heavy metals, environmental pollutions could be a part of that.
Right. And especially with children with autism, sleep is a big deal, as much as all of the other pieces that you talked about. And when a child can't sleep, a parent can't sleep. We need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. We'll talk about what you can do for these to help detoxify your child naturally. Stay with us. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Essential Nutrients LLC is the brainchild of entrepreneur Barbara Burns. Inspired by a desire to help others, Barbara worked with a team of scientists to develop unique nutritional liquid supplements with the goal to improve the quality of your life. Glucosamine, zinc, and calcium are essential to well-being, and this is the focus of Essential Nutrients LLC. Whether you're a professional athlete, weekend warrior, student, business owner, or homemaker, Essential Nutrients offers products for everyone, including the family pet. And they're easy to take, no pills. Health requires commitment, exercise, a good diet, proper supplementation, and action. So take action today and get your supply of essential liquid nutrients by visiting www.essential-liquids.com. Don't put off your health any longer. Take essential products today and start to measure the difference.
Unleash the obstacles that bind you with certified professional coach Joanne Charette, a master practitioner in energy leadership. Joanne can help you break through personal and professional barriers and guide you to a higher level of empowerment and fulfillment. Passionate and dedicated, Joanne engages with her clients on a mutual journey. Her dynamic energy will motivate you to move forward as you partner on a venture to greater results. Isn't it time to make a breakthrough and commit to live the life you deserve? Invest in yourself and let Joanne Charette be the catalyst to the realization of your dreams by making them a reality. Based in Quebec, Canada, Joanne is also a space coach, using social media and Skype to work with anyone, anywhere around the world. Contact Joanne Charette today at 819-360-3266 or email her at actionrealization@live.ca. 819-360-3266. Now is your time.
Hi, and welcome back to Naturally Recovering Autism. I'm your host, Karen Thomas, and we're coming to you live from the Global BBM Network and TuneIn Radio. And today we're talking about detoxification, and we've been getting into some symptoms and signs. And now we're going to move into a little bit more about what you can do, because we're also going to get into a little bit deeper on heavy metal detoxification. And I want to say natural and safe heavy metal detoxification. And also I want to let everybody know that I've got a free workshop available where I'll get into like the depth of details on some of these things at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/free workshop. So you can get a little bit more information there. And any of the links that we talk about on this show, I will put at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/HM for heavy metals. So we have our guest, Eddie Stone, with us today. And Eddie, we've talked about some of the symptoms and the signs to look for. So now let's dive in a little bit to some of the things that we can do for detoxification. And one of the first places might be, of course, I know the home environment is a really big deal. I know you also just released a recent article on the best foods for detoxification. So can you give us a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I would be happy to. So the first for me is I begin to think about things from an environmental standpoint. And the home is the place where most are spending the majority of their time or most of their lifetime. And one of the simple things we tend to not think about is if you live in a house that's got an HVAC system, and you've ever had to change the filter before, you let that go a little too long, you got to change that filter, and it might have been cotton white when you put it in, but when you go to change it, if you let it linger at all, it's sort of gray or dirty, blackish brown, and you almost kind of don't want to touch it, right? And so it's important to keep in mind that filter is actually pulling air from your living space and cleaning it before it goes through your air handler. And so we don't sort of realize that air, our lungs is having to, it really has the same function for us. The challenge is you can't pull your lungs out and wash them off or change them, with any kind of, at all, really. Right. So we tend to not realize just how big an issue this is. And so I think it's important to think about the living space, whether it's the use of chemicals for cleaning toilets or whatever, how exposed that you are. Do you use fans? Do you open the doors? It's great if you have a tight living space from an energy conservation standpoint, but if the house can't breathe, if it can't get rid of chemicals, then that can be problematic. And so you've got these exposures, and these exposures build up over time. And so that's one of the things we think about. Another one is to consider the quality of the food that you're eating. Just know the more that average calorie consumption is based upon ultra processed foods. And look, I get it. My kids are adults now, but I certainly remember the demands of life when they were younger, and the convenience associated with pulling through a drive-through or buying easily prepared meals that are prepackaged in the grocery store. I understand the convenience associated with those things, but just remember, these things have all been adulterated with the use of chemicals. They've either been processed in such a way that they cook quickly, more quickly than they would naturally, all kinds of chemical compositions associated with their preservation or as preservatives. And so the food that we consume, or even go to the water that you consume, right? Are you conscious of trying to consume filtered water? Because filtered water is important as well because of the chemicals they use to keep water from literally killing us, although that we could argue sort of there's a backfire effect associated with that. So the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the food that we eat, I know that organic is something probably most people listening to this call pay attention to. But even with organic products, you got to still make sure that you give them a good wash and clean them as much as you can so that the toxins from travel, field to grocery or whatever that circumstance happens to be for you. We just want to make sure that we do all that we can to support the body by providing a clean environment. Of course, we can get a little further by thinking about automobiles that have filtration systems naturally built into them. Most modern cars do. But if you're having the air come in from the outside without filtration and you're driving in traffic, now you've got additional exposure to heavy metals, environmental pollutants, cadmium, lead, mercury, things that are associated with exhaust emissions. And so I don't want to talk about trying to live in a bubble because that's not practical and that's not the way life is. But there is a difference between just being ignorant to environmental pollution that we have sort of in our lives on a daily basis and doing what we can to mitigate it, at least so that we can lessen that body burden, that toxic load.
Right. I know that mold is a really big deal, and I've covered this in one of the episodes a couple back on the comorbid symptoms of autism. And we get a lot of mold in our air conditioning and heating vents, and people don't realize it. And our homes can really be toxic with that, and it can really cause a lot of health and behavioral symptoms in children and adults. It's very common. And if anybody tuned in, I believe it was last episode or two ago, and I've also got it at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/water, a expert interview I did with one of the world's leading water experts, Robert Slovak. And on that page at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/water, at the bottom of that page is also a link to what he says is the best water filter available now, and it's very reasonably priced. So water is very important. A lot of people are drinking tap water, and our resources are really toxic. And so you've got to know you can't just drink right out of your tap anymore. And so many of those filters aren't doing the jobs that they need to do either. So yeah, that is really, really important. And so once you know how to cleanse your home, I'm always touting to eat organic foods, non-GMO, really be aware of that too, because those will really put a lot of toxins into your child. And our kids with autism are that much more sensitive to those pesticides and herbicides than even the average person is. So you might all of a sudden see your child was sort of, maybe even keeled, doing a little bit okay, more balanced, and they all of a sudden go into this behavioral outburst. They have more anger, or they all of a sudden can't sleep, or they, are having really odd behavioral symptoms, and it often can be because of some type of exposure like this. So it is important to watch for those and know the signs. So I'm also wanting to start talking a little bit about the detoxification. So Eddie, you have developed something that I have found tremendous success with, and in my mentoring program as well for the parents that I have shared it with, and it's your particular clinoptilolite zeolite that is for getting the intracellular heavy metal detoxification. And intracellular is the key word, because I'd like to also decipher between the other zeolite that you have that is specifically made in a different way so that it doesn't go intracellular, because we might want to detoxify in other areas of tissue and gut that we want to be able to have those molecules stay in. So I know I just kind of put out a lot there, but first, I think I just want to give a little background on what it is because it's a natural mineral. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to come back and we'll dive into some of these pieces I just spoke about and give you some more background on what you can do for your child very, very naturally and safely to detoxify. This is Karen Thomas at Naturally Recovering Autism. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Animal lover, author, artist, and public speaker, Patricia Daly-Lipe is a Renaissance woman in her own right. A lover of animals from a young age, Patricia lives on a farm in Virginia and has rescued neglected thoroughbred horses, keeping them or finding them safe havens. She is also a published author, and her books document real-life experiences that she shares in her passionate stories, taking the reader around the world in a colorful kaleidoscope of life. An accomplished artist, Patricia Daly-Lipe's oil paintings feature animals, portraits, stills, nature, and abstract, and she allows the brush to paint the image in an organic, natural way. A public speaker, Patricia is motivated to continually wonder about life and advocates for all of us to do the same and document our own unique history. To learn more about Patricia Daly-Lipe, visit www.literarylady.com and www.patricialipe.com or email her at pdlipe@gmail.com.
Hello, I'm Steve Fagan, and I'm president and CEO of Fagan Associates, but I'm also a life coach. I'm here to help you reach your dreams, goals, and objectives. As a life coach, it's my job to be your support, to be your teammate, to help you understand what is your dream, what is your life passion, and then together we work as that team to help you reach your specific goals. Life is worth living the best you can be. Working with a life coach, you're fulfilling those dreams and goals is your passion, and it's your way of living. Let me help you do that today. Let me help you really reach the best that you can be as a person and live the life you should be living. I'm Steve Fagan. I'm a life coach, and I'm here for you.
Contact Steve Fagan at FaganandAssociatesInc.com or call 1-800-239-2701.
And I'll be glad to help you move forward to live the life of success. Reach your dreams, your goals, your objectives. We can do it together.
Hi, and welcome back to Naturally Recovering Autism. I'm your host, Karen Thomas, and we're coming to you live from Bold Brave Media and TuneIn Radio. And we have today with us an expert on detoxification, and specifically we're talking about heavy metal detoxification now. We're going to go into a little bit more about this very, very specific zeolite formula that Eddie Stone has created for heavy metal detoxification and another one for different types of detoxification because they vary, and we're going to get into, I'll have Eddie explain that to you. But it's very important to know that not all zeolites are the same. And Eddie, can you give us a little bit of background on your specific glenophthalite zeolite and what separates it apart from the others?
Yeah, happy to. And just, for those that don't know a lot about zeolites, just to give you a quick idea, zeolites are a natural mineral that occurs when playa lake or salt water combines with volcanic ash. And so zeolites grow from that. There are multiple kinds of zeolites out there found in nature, and there are even zeolites that are commercially produced for industrial waste and cleanup. And all of that is to say that zeolites have a long history, know a lot about them. Now, as Karen said, not all zeolites are created equal. And that goes beyond just one manufacturer than another. There are some zeolites that aren't fit for human consumption. But clenophthalite is a sheet-like zeolite that we have known about for, literally we can go back to clay-eating societies in China. So it's been around. It's been a part of life for a long time. It enjoys a GRAS status from the FDA, which means that it is safe for human consumption. And from my experience, I've been working really sort of day in and day out. It's my daily work since 2005, and there's really no contraindications associated with it. So one of the nice things about that is it offers a way to systemically, on an ongoing basis, aid the body in detoxification. And when you consider some of the things we were talking to in the prior segment about this constant exposure, that's really critical. What makes it effective is that it has a natural charge, a natural negative charge which means that when it comes in proximity to positively charged environmental pollutants, heavy metals, multi-organic things of this kind, they're attracted. It's much like the north end and the south end of a magnet. They're attracted, so they sort of snap together. The difference is that how that zeolite is actually prepared. And this is actually one of my frustrations with the industry, because we know zeolites can be good. There's nothing groundbreaking with that from that standpoint. But zeolites found in nature are actually quite dirty. And the way you might think about them are to think about a sponge, maybe that you've got in your kitchen. And that sponge, if it was naturally, instead of it being clean and pristine when you bought it at the store, what if you bought it was already dirty? Well, that's exactly what zeolites are like when they're mined. They are completely dirty and full, not unlike, you would find with a sponge that's completely dirty and full. If you then, tried to clean up the countertop, all you do is move a spill or debris around. It wouldn't be effective at all. And so first things first is you've got to take the time to clean the zeolite. And you're doing this for a couple of reasons. One of them is you want to tease out or purge out of the zeolite whatever environmental pollutants that may be there natively. These things are so good at attracting and binding with toxins that we can even detect from where we mine if there's a little bit of diesel exhaust from the machinery that's utilized to mine. And so the first thing is to have a cleaning process. We have a proprietary process where we actually tease out of the zeolite these materials that we're not looking for that actually get in the way of the zeolite's effectiveness. It's very labor intensive and pretty scientific, I guess as a way to say it. It's a long process, but at the end of that process, we have a prepared zeolite that's in a position to better attract. It's almost like cleaning that sponge I talked about, those environmental pollutants. And that's the first thing that really separates what we're doing. We're really unaware of other people in the space. I see a lot of raw zeolites being sold. These things have not been cleaned if they're in a raw or a powdered form. And so you've got to first make sure it's clean. And then you need to think about size, because the effectiveness of a zeolite really comes down to size more than any other factor. Karen mentioned that we've got two products. One is a regular that has about a 0.4 mean average size that's just about the right size to remain mostly inside the gut, so it provides the ability to bind and move toxins out of the body there. But then we have a cellular product, we refer to it as Pure Body Extra, that's been prepared so that it can make it into the cells in the body and provide a cellular cleanse. Why is this important? Well, first, toxins, they are small. We're talking about things that can be angstrom in size, and so they can make it to any place in your body, any cellular function in your body. Toxins can be there and be disruptors in natural function, from just simple issues to more acute issues that you might associate with someone with severe reactions. But also because size in this case, the smaller it is, the more effective it is. And what we have to think about is really surface area, because the smaller we make the zeolite, the more surface area we provide. And I've got a simple example, because I know that's completely counterintuitive, to give you a way to think about this. For anybody listening that's familiar with a soccer ball, pretty good size, right? If you put paint on it, roll it around on the table, it'll make a pretty good mark on the table. A soccer ball has approximately 1.63 square feet of surface area. But if we take that same amount of space and we were to, say, cut the top of the soccer ball open and fill it with nanometer-sized soccer balls, well, particles, right? Literally in that same space, we would create over 100 acres of surface area. Okay, so let me say that again. Just take the single soccer ball. It has a surface area of 1.63 square feet. Fill that soccer ball with nano-sized soccer balls just in the very same space, just inside that soccer ball, and we create a surface area of 100 acres. And so by preparing the zeolite in this way, which is quite unique to the work that we're doing, we provide basically a broader environment for the zeolite to do its work, to take that natural negative charge that it maintains and be attracted to the positively charged, even angstrom-sized particulates, cadmium, lead, mercury, volatile organics, all these things that you're thinking of when you think of toxins that you're exposed to, get trapped in the lungs, get trapped in the tissues, make it into the cell structure of your body. That's what makes that product unique. And the nice thing is there's really no contraindications that we're aware of. We don't get feedback from people. At this point, we've got thousands and thousands of users around the world of people that are having reactions or issues associated with it. I tell people to make sure they drink plenty of water because that also supports, along with a vegetable-based diet, supports the detoxification process. But it's gentle to the system and something that can be used, and it's odorless and tasteless. And so I know for some that are dealing with kids or even adults that are super picky and have texture problems and taste problems and smell problems that they just causes them to limit their palate. This is something that can be used by a wide variety of people because of that. And then maybe the final thing I'll mention, and maybe we can dive into this deeper into the next section of the show, is that by taking it that small, we also introduce the possibility of zeta potential. And not to get too technical, but that's basically where that charge, that negative charge that I spoke about, which is essentially an electrical charge, can leak to the surface of the zeolite so that not only is it effective at attracting inside its porous structure these environmental pollutants, but it can also then attract to its outside and gather and accumulate toxins in that manner as well. And the nice thing is zeolites will not remain or stay in the body. They are not water or fat soluble. They have to exit the system, assuming a person has normal renal function, usually leaves the body in about a 4 to 6 hour period of time. So, quite literally, as it's stuffed itself full of toxins, it's gathering them on its outside surface as it's sort of evacuating, exiting the body. It's really a remarkable natural process that supports and aids the body. And we're excited that we've had a chance to bring it to the public, and the feedback's just been terrific.
Yeah, I know that the zeolites are negatively charged and heavy metals are positively charged. So it will allow them to connect and with each other, grab onto each other, just like a magnet. But then it doesn't allow for redistribution as it's being excreted, which is one of the problems with the pharmaceutical drugs like DMSA that you can usually get from your medical practitioner. And also we want to make sure that that we're not taking out any of the good minerals like calcium and magnesium, and the zeolites do not do that as well. I go into this again in detail. If you're interested, you can get my free workshop on it. It's naturallyrecoveringautism.com/free workshop. But I go into that a little bit further because these are really important things. And most people, when they go to your doctor, when you go to your doctor for heavy metal detoxification, you're going to get something called DMSA, the drug that is a pharmaceutical prescription drug that actually does allow for reabsorption of toxins in the body as they're being excreted, and also will pull out the good minerals. So we really, really want to make sure that we're avoiding those pieces. It's really important. And the nice thing about the extra strength Pure Body is it's a spray, and it basically tastes like water. And I know with our kids with autism, it can be really hard to give them a lot of supplements. So, I have strived to find, powder or liquid forms, various things where it's easy for parents to give, but the highest quality available. And so that's what's nice about the extra strength is it's a spray. And then I also think we should touch on your regular strength, because sometimes people go to your website and they'll kind of go, okay, well, what's the difference between these two? And they also the safety factor, like, is it okay to use this on a 2-year-old? So those are a couple of things I definitely would like to get into as well. And we're going to actually have to cut to a short break here, a short commercial break. And we're going to get into these aspects when we come back, give you a little bit more information on this. And also I'll let you know where you can get this and where you can get it at a discount, which I like to offer whenever I can as well. This is Naturally Recovering Autism. We're on Bold Brave Media. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
WikiWags brings harmony back into your home for male dogs and their owners. Inventor and entrepreneur Linda Jangula has created the disposable doggy diaper wraps made with the male dog in mind. The built-in wicking ability prevents rashing and other potential health issues for your dog. Each wrap comes in 4 sizes and has dual reattachable magic tabs for easy adjustments. And each size has a 7-inch logo strip for adjustability. So they are comfortable and easy to use. No more fuss, just leave the mess to us. Whether you're in or out, your dog will be free to run about. Stop cleaning and start enjoying your home, and you can even leave your dog alone. To order your WikiWags, visit wikiwags.com, or to find out where to buy WikiWags in your town, visit mywikiwags.com and start enjoying having man's best friend around.
Hi, welcome back to Naturally Recovering Autism. I'm your host, Karen Thomas, and we're coming to you live from the Global BBM Network. Today we have Eddie Stone with us, and we're talking about heavy metal detoxification now. And there are 2 specific zeolite formulas that are very, very scientifically formulated that Eddie has created, and we're talking about the differences between one called Pure Body Extra Strength. That is an intracellular formula for its smaller particles getting into the cells, and then there's a regular strength one that I wanted to ask you, Eddie, to touch on a little bit too, because I know it's a little confusing sometimes when people go to your website. The regular strength one, it's liquid also, but it's kind of in drops, and it's a little bit more for tissue and detoxification of other parts of the body instead of just being inside the cells. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And so let me give you just a couple ways to sort of think about it. And first, for the listeners, we put both products through the same safety process, and so both products are mined at the same source. And both of them go through the same thorough and complete prep process or cleansing process, however you want to say it. So, literally using a variety of environmental conditions where we change the pH. We're literally teasing out of the pores those dirty particulates or things that it's accumulated over time, and we replace them with natural electrolytes such as magnesium and calcium, and so we give it something that, while at a cation exchange level it prefers and it holds in its cage, what's nice about it is it has a much greater affinity for things like cadmium, lead, mercury, other heavy metals in the body, and so when it's presented to the body, it's naturally through cationic exchange, it's going to give up that potassium and calcium and magnesium for the heavy metals that we're trying to get rid of. So frankly, it's just a beautiful part of nature that we've just worked hard to provide a process that complements it and prepares it so it can be a successful in the body. But as we were talking about size just a few moments ago, the way the body works, and which, I know our shows here today is not about biochemistry, but your digestive system really can be thought of as sort of a closed system that protects us, protects us in some ways, not completely, but protects us maybe from something that's in our food that's dangerous, whether it's a bacteria, whatever happens to be. The idea is that the digestive system would sort of be sealed off and protect the rest of the body from that. Doesn't work foolproof, but that's generally how it works. And so that means that in order for things to easily migrate out of the digestive system in the bowel into the soft tissue in the bloodstream, it needs to be a mean average size, considerably smaller than, say, 0.4 microns. And so we purposefully mill the Pure Body Regula to 0.4 mean average size so that it primarily is going to stay in the digestive system in the bowel, because there's a lot of toxicity associated with food that accumulates in the bowel that we would want to, if we've got a detox strategy, we want to have a clean system, we would want to aid the body in detoxing in that manner. And this in addition to, say, a diet rich in greens and leafy products, a lot of chlorophyll will certainly help to clean our digestive system. And remember, as I said earlier, both products, we're talking about an inert, hardened mineral that isn't going to be broken down by your body or stay absorbed in the body, and so it's going to be evacuated. So really think of it as doing that main job, that heavy lifting associated with the digestive system. Some of those particles are small enough, because we're talking about mean average size, that they'll get into the soft tissue and the bloodstream. So it is reasonable to have an expectation that when you use it, it is going to wind up in the bloodstream, and as it circulates, going to have a positive impact in aiding the body in detoxification of heavy metals and environmental pollutions in the soft tissue and the blood. But it isn't going to be small enough that it's going to make its way into your cell structure. Cell structure, here we're talking about things that are very small. I think 1997, 98, there was a Nobel Prize that was awarded for identification of aquaprinas. These are really minute channels that water and things transfer into the cell. And that's why we created Pure Body Extra, because the cellular size, that nano size, we're talking about, 30 to say 40, 50 nanograms in size. Now we're small enough to get into the cell, and those angstrom-size pores that you find in the structure of that nano-sized particle will be attracted to the angstrom-size heavy metals in the cell. And so it gives you that complete ability to detox the system instead of just in the gut, soft tissue, and the bloodstream. We're talking about that cellular level. And so that's the two we're talking about. One is really a fine, complete cellular detoxification that occurs, the other digestive system and the bowel. And hopefully that helps out with that distinction. And just remember,
I'm so sorry to cut you off there. We're going to have to take a quick break, but we will be right back, and we can finish up this thought and give the links for sure to where everybody can get these. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you battle with weight loss? There is a solution. Founder of Weight No More Consulting, Deborah Simons, can help you lose weight safely and effectively through weight loss surgery. I know. I had the surgery 2 years ago, and I am 135 pounds lighter and medication-free. This full-service weight loss center caters to your every need as you navigate to a healthy weight following surgery. Servicing all of Canada, Weight No More Consulting takes pride in its compassionate care and guides you through each step before and after surgery. Starting with informational meetings, Weight No More Consulting educates each potential client before they decide to have surgery on the health risks of obesity and the various weight loss surgeries available. After surgery, Weight No More Consulting provides a solid support system with ongoing meetings to ensure continued success. Deborah Simons and Weight No More Consulting are committed to promoting your health and wellness through maintaining a healthy weight for life.
America is out of control. Today's capitalism and the approach to money is in fact the symptom of a more widespread pattern of excessive behavior. In his book, The Culture of Excess, How America Lost Self-Control and Why We Need to Redefine Success, clinical psychologist Dr. Jay Slosar portrays an America where excess fuels the drive to succeed. Dr. Slosar examines the cultural factors that lead to excess, ranging from obesity to fraud to pervasive budget deficits. His book examines the powerful economic and social factors and their impact on our psychological well-being. Dr. Slosar explores the psychological impact of increasing narcissism, perfectionism, self-destruction, and our identity confusion. He offers recommendations for helping Generation Me become Generation We. Those who resist Slosar's message will want to avoid his discussion of regulation and his recent message that at this point, democracy must be more important than today's capitalism. Get his book now online or by visiting thecultureofexcess.com.
Hi, and welcome back to Naturally Recovering Autism. I'm your host, Karen Thomas, and we're coming to you live from the Bold Brave Media. And we have Eddie Stone with us. We're talking about detoxification and heavy metal detoxification now specifically. And Eddie, we're talking about your Pure Body formula being more intracellular for getting into those cells, and then your regular formula for being something that is meant to stay outside of the cells, because there's other cleanup to be done in the tissues in various parts of the body, especially the digestive tract. And so I know what parents ask me a lot is, okay, so with this, your particular cellular formula, because I know it's distinctly different from others, is it okay to go ahead and the safety factor, go ahead and use this with, is there an age requirement that a child might need to be before using either of them? And should we do some cleanup and do some detoxification and support first, or is it okay to move right in with the zeolites early on in a foundational program?
So let me go to the last question first, and I'll just build off what I was saying at the end of that prior segment. Fundamentally, just remember here that it's counterintuitive when it comes to size. So here, the smaller the particle, the more surface area it creates. In that regard, it's great if you've already got a lifestyle that's clean. It's great if you're a person that's conscious of doing a detox or a cleanse, but it is not required. The product is going to be effective otherwise. Could it possibly be more effective if your lifestyle was different or you're already engaged in the cleanse, you're already cleaned up? I would think that makes common sense. But the bottom line is no matter where you're at, this is going to help your body with detox, bottom line. And so with regards to safety, look, if you really dive deep into the subject matter, there's no published contraindications that I'm aware of. If you look around the globe at the regulatory environment, just like in the U.S., zeolites enjoy GRAS status, which is generally recognized as safe from the FDA. They've been part of the food supply for decades and a part of sort of what we know mankind, right, for thousands of years. And heck, it's even been used to help clean up nuclear accident sites. And so we know a lot about it in that regard. But what I tell people about your children is it's like adding a new food. If you've got a child that's got acute issues and you've got medical issues that you're working on, something such as autism, just make sure you're consulting with the medical professionals that you rely on for good advice. Your child may be on a certain medication. I don't know of any with a contraindication that would make it not palatable with zeolite, but just use a good common sense. There's really no regulatory position on age or body size. I know pregnant women that use the product and have over and over again. I've seen this. I've known newborns, they're getting it from a breastfeeding mother. And so you just got to use common sense, but I'm unaware of issues associated with kids.
Okay, great. That's good to know. I know that we are out of time. And Eddie, thank you so much for being here. It's been really, really helpful. And I want to make sure that you get all the links that you need, including a link that I have directly to Touchstone's website and the Pure Body products. And at the bottom of this page, naturallyrecoveringautism.com/HM for heavy metals, HM, you will find all of the links that we discussed in this episode there that you'll need, and a code where you can get 10% off of your entire first order at Touchstone Essentials. So make sure that you use that code and that link at the bottom of that page there at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/heavy metals. Thanks for joining in today. Appreciate it. And I hope it was helpful. This is Karen Thomas, Naturally Recovering Autism, and we're coming to you live from Bold Brave Media. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Naturally Recovering Autism with your host, Karen Thomas. Listen each week and learn how you can provide your child a clear path for a happier and more fulfilling life on Karen Thomas's Naturally Recovering Autism.
You've been listening to the BBM Global Network. The ideas, views, and opinions of this broadcast are those of the participants of the program and are not necessarily the ideas, views, and opinions of the BBM Global Network Company.